You're listening to No Retreat, hosted by Cheryl, produced by Scott Douglas. Today on No Retreat, our guest is Josh Roy, Republican primary candidate for senator in Idaho. Welcome to the program, Josh. Would you take a few moments to introduce yourself to our audience?
Yeah, Cheryl, thank you very much. So, I'm running for U.S. Senate against incumbent Jim Risch in Idaho. I'm a middle-class working husband and father with 4 kids, ages 8 to 17, and we're running, my wife and I, this campaign in our spare time. And believe me, it's been crazy. So today, I'm going to briefly summarize my platform and maybe share about myself if Cheryl gives me time at the end. My platform is family values, term limits, and fighting back the crazy bureaucracy in our country. I'm going to go through each of these really quickly to kind of show listeners and voters both a new perspective on these issues and where I stand to help them be better informed. So my wife and I are the original family values candidates. We are lifelong people of faith who homeschooled for many years. Many times we've struggled to know how to raise our kids in this modern world. I know that it's a struggle that many listeners share or have shared or have experienced or are going through right now. Our children need protected. They need trained in our values and culture and faith. And we must fight to protect our families at all costs. This is the first and most important step in rebuilding this great nation of ours. So what is Congress's role in this? Why would I go to the Senate? And if I get there, what should I be trying to do while I'm there? For the answer, we need to look at Robert F. Kennedy's success. So Captain Crunch is about the worst thing you can feed your kid. It's basically candy. What kind of corporate executive would advertise Captain Crunch to children? It is actually morally reprehensible if you just stop and think about it. Next time you're shopping with your 4-year-old and he or she acts out because they want something that you know they should not have, and you feel publicly shamed and judged as you stand there in the grocery aisle, remember that someone very rich spent a lot of money to deliberately do this to you specifically. Yes, you are and always will be responsible for your choices that you make as a parent. But you should take strength in understanding that a multi-billion-dollar corporation is willfully harming your family for profit. This is why Robert F. Kennedy is successful. And it's why Trump picked him. So now moving on to term limits, that's the second part of my campaign platform. My main opponent in this race will be 83 when he starts his next term and nearly 90 when he finishes. So ask yourself, how in the world do we expect the Senate to function with an average age of 64? Congress is not a golden parachute job position. There is a widespread recognition that our leaders have become out of touch. They've been away from real life for too long. I and many voters like me feel that congressional service should be roughly limited to a length and retirement age similar to a normal working career. Last week, a bill was introduced in the Idaho State Legislature calling for a constitutional convention on term limits for U.S. senators and representatives. I support this bill, and I believe it is vitally important to our nation's future that this discussion is occurring. In Idaho, our youngest federal elected official is 64. The others are all in their 70s and 80s. In my job, like most jobs, these ages are far past viability. In the real world, leaders at these ages are not capable. We wonder at the struggles of Congress, but few of us are asking the hard questions. I am calling on the members of the Idaho State Legislature to openly endorse my run for office. This is the simple, direct courage necessary to force change in our nation. My run is a direct challenge to the system. My main opponent will be 83 when he starts his next term and nearly 90 when he finishes. He has been in elected office since Nixon. I am not blind to the fact that there are many talented leaders in Boise whose careers are hostage to a system that refuses advancement. As an outsider, I am challenging the system on their behalf, and I ask for their support. My third issue is fighting federal bureaucracy. Executive bureaucracy and regulation are destroying our economy. Executive agencies don't go through the painful legislative process. This process is very necessary. It's how we find the compromises we need. This is why we can't afford our trucks, houses, groceries, and insurance. If Congress can't write legislation itself, it should delegate it back to the states, not to an agency. I'm going to illustrate this with a boring example, so follow me because this applies to every area of our economy. Out there on my street is an F-250 or a Dodge Ram or a Chevy Silverado or a nice, shiny new truck of some type. And no, it's not mine. I can't afford it. A new work truck is about $60,000 to $80,000 and maybe $100,000. Now, in your mind, take that truck apart and put it into two piles. In one pile, put everything on a 1990 work truck. In the other pile, put everything that is on a 2025 work truck. You would find that about half the vehicle's value today is regulatory requirements that didn't exist in 1990. This holds true across the market. These requirements did not come through Congress. They weren't debated. There's no elected officials who can be voted out of office for creating them. The average car purchase is about $50,000. You can look it up. And about $25,000 of that is new regulatory requirements. Assisted steering is very, very expensive. You could fly an Apollo mission on an assisted steering system. Americans purchase 16 million vehicles a year, and the cost of the extra regulations is around $400 billion, $500 billion with interest on a 7-year, $750 a month loan, which we all know we're enduring in this market. This example is true across all industries, not just for trucks. It's true for lumber or buildings or roads. Lumber mills can't make lumber. Loggers can't log. Builders can't build. Farmers can't farm. Have you tried to buy a new tractor lately? Manufacturers can't manufacture. And our insurers can't insure. Look at your car insurance and homeowners insurance prices. And our hospitals can't care. Look at our medical care prices. We can't afford for every product and every service in our country to be double the price. Now, this brings me to a key point. We live in a country that struggles to farm, to make steel, aluminum, or copper. We can't mine. We can't make chips or microchips. We can't make a hand drill. We can't even make a single tablet of ibuprofen. We need skilled farmers, trades, and manufacturers back in business. And that's my platform, and I've developed it over some time with life experience. I'm uniquely suited to what I'm trying to take on here. I've spent my working career in traditional heavy manufacturing. I work in a pulp mill, big, huge machines, and in the timber industry. I have a family background in farming and nuclear energy. There aren't many working-age Americans left with heavy manufacturing experience. Most sawmills, farms, aluminum smelters, steel mills, and mines have all closed in this country. In Congress, I would be the only one with heavy manufacturing experience. I can be comfortable on any farm, logging operation, sawmill, construction site, mine, aluminum smelter, or machine shop. I have an MBA and 20 years political experience in heavy manufacturing, which is some of the most intensive political experience you can get. I'm here today, Cheryl, looking for the support of the conservative community to help push forward my campaign. And I just really appreciate you taking the time to let me talk. And what can I elaborate on for you? What questions would you have on behalf of our listeners?
Well, I think, first of all, the experience in your work, right, in heavy manufacturing, machine shops, mining, all of those things, that really speaks to a key issue of concern across America amongst the people that I've been interviewing and people that I've been speaking to. Returning greatness to American manufacturing really helps address the affordability crisis as well, not let alone the regulations that you mentioned, deregulating things that are overregulated. But as we return greatness to skilled trades, we also give the young people of America an opportunity to actually earn really decent wages with or without a college degree. Do you agree?
Oh, yes, absolutely. And I think one of the things that gets talked about a lot is subsidies. And having worked in manufacturing, what I've realized is it's not subsidies. We just need the regulations out of the way. I toured a local manufacturing plant here a couple of weeks ago in my efforts to round up local support. And the owner or manager, he said, you know what? The local chamber of commerce came to me asking what they can do for me. And he said, I need people just to get out of my way. If I need a new building, I need to be allowed to build a new building. And it was very interesting that he didn't believe, and I agree with him, the path forward doesn't lie through government spending or subsidies or programs. The path forward lies in freedom and the ability to take initiative and do something without getting crushed by bureaucracy.
I think that's an excellent point because, as we speak with American manufacturers, that is a key issue, right? Across all demographics. I don't care if you're a small business up to a large corporation. The overregulation of the American manufacturing industry, American small businesses, every aspect, right, of what you're talking about. You could actually have an item that is so overregulated, like you mentioned with vehicles, right, that it becomes double what the price should be in the marketplace if you were just to allow a free market capitalist approach.
Yeah, I completely agree, Cheryl. And, vehicles is an easy description or example to use because once you start digging into the numbers, first, I can speak authoritatively on it because my background is engineering and I spent a lot of time working on vehicles in college. But the other is that everybody has one and they can go out there and they can do what I described. And we can all envision if we can go out to our parking lot and do that to our car and understand that we're looking at $25,000 plus right there in spending that, quite frankly, leaves the country. I mean, what's the big controversy right now? Airbags from China are killing people. This was in the news yesterday. And that speaks to the point that money is not just being spent, it's being exported out of our country for a product we can't really make effectively here in the States. And, well, you can take that example and you can plug that in on top of your food. Go to the grocery store and say, I know that regulations are killing my car and my ability to buy a car this way. The same group of bureaucrats is doing the same thing and look at the shelf, right? And, go outside and look at the building the grocery store's in. Look across the road and look at the other building. Go home and look at your house. I mean, who's tried to build a house lately? She's just like it's crazy. I was talking to a guy running for county commissioner locally, a very good candidate named Nick Woods, and he was describing the cost of an addition. He spent $200,000 putting an addition on his house, and he just said he couldn't believe how expensive it was. I did construction all through college. I've done some remodeling work and done some code work, and it's staggering the requirements to build a house that two guys in 1960 would have just gone out and built, and it would have been structurally more sound than our house today, right? And now you're drowning in regulations and building code imposed on our local government by not even the government, but by trade groups and councils, on the East Coast, 1,000, 2,000 miles away.
Something simple that I've done just because I love deregulation, right? So I dug in a little bit and I went to Grok and I asked Grok, find me 10 regulations that if we did away with them, they wouldn't hurt anybody. There'd be no safety implications that would have an economic benefit. Basically, Grok said, that's way too broad. But anyway, so Grok gave me, the first 10, right, we'll just say. In that list, okay, included saving over $400 billion a year for reducing one regulation on trucks. And that money was an extrapolated amount, not just the government savings, right? But the amount in the economy that would be saved. And then, there were 9 others. I mean, it was it was hugely impactful to me, and any citizen can do this just to see an idea of what you're talking about, right? So anybody can become quickly informed that, yes, the platform that you're running on and the things that you're talking about are serious, that they really affect us in the day-to-day.
Yeah, I sort of stumbled into the Senate campaign on accident. It just occurred to me in mid-November, like out of the blue, when I was reading about term limits and how long our one of our elected officials have been in office. I'm like, shucks, I wonder if I could run, right? And so then the more I've dug into campaigning and like, how do I take this fight forward and make this impact on our life? I really encourage more people to take a good look at it. Because we have got to, as common citizens, which I am still a common citizen, right? Just November 9th, I was a regular guy who got up in the morning and drank his coffee and read the news and, grouched around on Sunday morning before going off to go to church. And you can do this, and we have to do this. We have to get involved. We have to acknowledge these things in our life that we have to change if we wish our nation to be great and our children to grow up in good families, and our lives to be blessed and fulfilled. And so, I'm really calling on people. I believe in this. I believe that I need the backing to make this happen. And I've been told, so how do you accomplish this in Congress? And one of the things I came back with is, well, really, we have to start where we're at. And it's going to be incredibly hard to claw this bureaucracy back into Congress and start making these regulations and laws make sense. But we have to start now going forward with the laws we approve and how we write stuff. And I'm really, on a mission to change what we're doing in this country.
I like the way you put that, is that we have to start where we are now, right? There's not a magic wand to wave over the situation. And people have to be realistic that you go to Congress and you have to work within the system that you're given to change the system that you will have, right?
That's really a very good way to put it. I certainly think Trump could use some help, and I'd love to have his endorsement.
It doesn't always mean that you would win, but it's a good indicator if you get it. Absolutely.
Oh, absolutely.
And yes, I really like the focus on family values as well. Can you speak more to what you think might be some things where, as a senator, that you might have some say on family values types of issues?
Yeah, I think I can. So I use the example of breakfast cereal, but the wider question we run into is, for most of my adult life, as long as I've sort of been conscious of the difficulties of raising kids, there's been this discussion around different things like healthy eating or over-medication. And many of us know that intuitively we know, like, our children should not be on all these ADHD and psychiatric medications at such a young age, right? And, Kennedy's spoken to that several times. We know that this traditional food pyramid that's feeding our children basically straight sugar every morning is bad. We know it's bad, right? But whenever the conversation of regulating those economic activities comes up, the defense of these powerful industries usually comes back to, parental responsibility, making wise choices, as if it's somehow all the parents' problem, or well, everybody knows it's a treat, or our doctors have to make these decisions. And meanwhile, normal citizens are crumbling under the weight of a multi-billion dollar advertising industry that has aimed the best psychology available straight at our children. And it's so hard to fight back, and it's so hard to make reasonable choices. And, Trump and Kennedy really were able to bypass that, but it's important to understand how they're bypassing these issues. And they're bypassing them through the regulation of and using executive agencies to put pressure on these industries to change what they're doing to American families. And very realistically, look, the act of writing laws is Congress's job. And I think Trump and Kennedy are doing an amazing job fighting back against these things that are destroying our families. But it's very important to understand that they're supposed to enforce laws written by Congress. And what they're really shining a spotlight on is that Congress isn't doing its job in the first place, right? And I think that Trump and Kennedy could desperately use some help in trying to rebuild the health of our American families. So many of your behavioral issues and psychiatric issues with children and young adults really do come back to the fact that what are now multi-trillion-dollar corporations are applying their full weight to nothing but profiting off of manipulating the psychology of people, going to people's most basic urges. I mean, you've got thousands and thousands and thousands of years where people starve to death, and then you go throw sugar in front of them, and their cognition just melts, right? And it's very straightforward psychology. And I've done classes on advertising psychology, and it's really true, right? And so I really think that Congress needs to get involved in this, and they need to own the responsibility to manage this country on our behalf with strength and without caving to special interest groups for the benefit of the citizens. It's incredibly hard to do, and it's obviously not happening, and it's time for that to change.
I couldn't agree more. So, Josh, take a few moments and let our audience know where they can connect with your campaign, how they can get to know you better, where they can connect to volunteer, and where they can connect to donate.
Yeah, so go to joshroy4idaho.com, and you'll find my campaign platform there under the Issues tab, and there's a place to donate. And you can also buy swag. I have T-shirts and hats for sale. The number one thing I need is donations, I'll be honest with you. I'm running a grassroots campaign. I'm largely self-funded. I'm a husband, father of four, family guy, very middle class. And so I'm looking for the resources to spin up and bring on board professional social media advertising and professional campaign management, all of which are very expensive and very difficult. And as soon as I have enough to get some professional campaign management going, I'll start to have the ability to manage volunteers. I've run into that quite a bit, is that I would love to have volunteers, but I don't have anybody to help me set up door-knocking operations or to manage the finances behind a campaign. I did recently bring on board a treasurer just last week. And so please go check out my website. Check out my really awesome American-made T-shirts and American-made hats, and find the Donate tab and help me turn this country around.
I love it. Well, yes, everybody, go to his website and check him out. Thank you so much, Josh, for spending time with us today, and I look forward to maybe having future conversations with you. When is your primary?
My primary is May 19th.
Okay, so we've got a few months, but not much time.
Not much time. It's a pretty tight campaign.
Yes, sir. Well, you have a blessed day. Thank you so much again.
Thank you. Take care.
Thank you. Bye. You've been listening to No Retreat. Guest Josh Roy. And as always, everyone, be blessed and be a blessing. Thank you.